Okay, we're here with Emma Coburn on the eve of the Diamond League final in Zurich for the women's steeplechase. And we're going to ask some greatest ever questions here. So I guess first question, maybe an easy one, but greatest race you've ever run?
I don't know if it's an easy one. To me, it's really tied between World Championships and the Olympics. The Olympics last year, I ran a lot of it solo, and it was 95 degrees on the track, and it took a lot of kind of mental toughness, those middle laps, to not get discouraged and to still be in contention for third. And then London, on paper, might be a better race because it was faster and I came away, with the gold, but it came easier to me, and it felt easier than Rio felt. So I think I have to say both are my greatest ever.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's a good answer. What about your favorite race? I mean, is there a difference between that and greatest, or which one would you say is your favorite from your career?
I think London is my favorite race. I think how exciting the finish was, and how fast Courtney and I ran en route to the medals. I think that's my favorite race, and sometimes I've gone back and watched Rio, and I still hate that last 150 because I didn't pull out the silver.
Yeah.
In this race, the last 150 is super fun to watch. So I think London's my favorite.
Your greatest rival?
That's a really good question. As cliche as it sounds, maybe myself, just because your body can betray you, and injuries happen, and doubt creeps in your mind, and so on the international stage, the people at the top have changed every year in the women's steeplechase. There hasn't been a consistent rival, and then in the U.S., kind of same thing. It's the faces have changed, and Courtney and Colleen have been consistently on the team, the last 2 years. But I think, as silly as it sounds, probably myself, just because pushing through injury and every day kind of pushing through the hard moments that every athlete has to go through. I think, if you can get rid of all the injuries and the doubt and the uncertainty of things, then you're ready to roll.
Yeah, I mean, would you say that part of that is just the fact that you've sort of been a cut above most of the Americans? I guess until London, Courtney was pretty close to you, but most of the time you're not really challenged in domestic races.
Just because on paper I've been ahead of the rest of the women on the steeple, in the U.S. in the steeplechase, doesn't mean I'm not challenged by them. The races have been, within a few seconds the last couple years, and have been, it's U.S. championships are really difficult and really challenging for me to win. So I get along really well with Courtney and Colleen and Stephanie and Leah, and the descending order list of the women's steeplechase, we all get along well. And so the word rival is kind of, I feel like, someone who you should hate and not, get along with at all. So I'm definitely challenged by the women in the U.S., and just because I've been ahead doesn't mean that I don't have to, work hard for it.
The greatest training partner you've ever had?
I think I'll say Aisha. It's been really fun having her, and when I trained with Mark and Heather, I had Jenny and Kara Goucher and Shalea Kipp and Sarah Sutherland and Jessica Thibault, and so I had this big group of really great women, but Aisha kind of in training fills the role that a lot of them filled, and in long runs, Shalea and I were shoulder to shoulder. Sarah, Jessica, and I were shoulder to shoulder, or Kara. And steeple stuff, I had Shalea pushing me. And 1,500 workouts, I had Jenny ahead of me, me pulling off behind her. And Aisha kind of fills in all those spots just as one person. So we physically match up really well in training. And then she's just a wonderful person.
Greatest place to race?
London's really great. The crowd is, I think, internationally, London is my favorite. Probably it's, my perception of it's a little skewed now, but the stands were totally full, so loud.
Yeah.
I like the weather there for racing. But in the U.S., I do really like racing at Hayward. Really energetic crowds, great weather again usually, and yeah, just kind of memories of good fast times there.
Yeah. Greatest workout you've ever run?
There's not one that sticks out in my head as like the best ever. There were a few kind of hard miles at the end of workouts or at the beginning of workouts when we were up in Crested Butte that were, when they were over, I was thinking like, oh, okay, I can get close to 9 minutes.
Yeah. That was this winter, you mean? Or?
In May.
Oh, May.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of them at the start, I can't remember if it was at the start or the beginning, but we had a ladder, and one of the miles was up at 7,700 feet, 442, as just part of a workout.
Wow.
And so I had help with a pacemaker, but it was like, that was good motivation to just, feel confident and feel like steeple-pace would feel comfortable after that.
Greatest piece of advice you've ever received? I don't know if you can remember what's on your head.
Joe always says, it's just running, baby. And he just says it to me as a reminder that it is just running and it's not complicated, and you just have to go out and go as hard as you can and give it your all. And, he says that it's all worth it. The hurt is all worth it. And so remembering that it's just running, I don't have to overthink it. I don't have to reinvent the wheel here. I just have to put one foot in front of the other and jump over things. And if I can do that as to the extent that I know how to, then I should be okay.
Greatest trail or place to run?
That's an easy one. My favorite run is in Crested Butte, Colorado. It's the lower loop, and I do it's a single track, but not technical, very runnable. And it's just incredibly beautiful and gorgeous scenery, beautiful flowers, beautiful aspen trees, and yeah, hands down my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Greatest scalp, greatest person you've ever beaten?
Oh, gosh. I mean, probably in London, beating Chip Coach and Jabet. Jabet's the world record holder, and Chip Coach is the world leader, and she's run sub 8:30 in the flat 3K, and I think she placed pretty high at World Cross too this year. Mm-hmm. Chip Coach did, so she's a really good runner outside of the steeplechase. But yeah, probably Chip Coach and Jabet.
Greatest place you've traveled?
My favorite place outside of Crested Butte is Kauai. I love Honolulu on Kauai, and that's actually where we're getting married. So in October. So that's kind of my favorite spot outside of Colorado.
Well, if you're going to Hawaii for the wedding, where are you going for the honeymoon?
Just a different spot in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Greatest mistake you've made?
Probably I've raced a few times when I was sick or hurt, and that's probably a mistake. I had times that I had too much pride. I was sick in Monaco 2015, and my coaches were like, you're sick, do you feel like you're able to race? If you're not well, you shouldn't race. And I just totally, not lied, but I just tried to convince myself that I was healthier than I was, and I raced, and I think it probably set me back and potentially kind of affected the world champs that year. So yeah, racing that when I was sick and I actually raced in Zurich in 2014 when I was sick, and both those races were pretty crummy.
Greatest race you've watched that you weren't personally involved in?
That's a good one. Wow. I felt like so many races in London were incredible. Watching Jenny in the women's 1500 and watching Amy in the marathon.
Yeah,
26 of those miles. Sorry, watching those two races really, really inspired me and motivated me, and seeing friends and peers gut it out against the odds. Amy wasn't expected to medal. Jenny was, came into the meet not ranked near the medals. And they both gutted it out, and watching their races, I cried after both and was like so fired up and motivated. So those two races were, in my recent memory, the greatest.
Greatest fan encounter?
You mean of me being a fan of someone? Oh, probably.
No, you meeting a fan.
I was gonna say, if I'm a fan, I met Al Michaels last year and freaked out.
Okay.
I'm really a big fan of his. And my favorite fan encounters are just when kids come up or girls come up and say that I motivated them or inspired them, and that's coming from kids. It feels like it means a lot.
All right, one last question. Jenny Simpson, what could she run in a steeplechase? This is a bit different. What could she run in a steeplechase if you trained for it in the off season, and would you want to race that next year in a steeple?
Jenny has 4 medals in the 1500, so I feel like she's in the right. She's in the
agree
right
with that,
event, but
let's run ones to see
no,
this.
I'm sure Jenny could run, close to 9 minutes and if not break it. And I think it'd be a really fun race. I mean, she has a much better flat 3K PR than me. Granted, I never really run flat events, but she's obviously one of the best American distance runners of all time, and I think she would, I think she'd do well in it. But I think we're both happy to have our own respective events.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Anna.
Thanks.